This video will look at how to have some scoring working in our Pong game. So at this point, I just have one paddle, and I have the ball bouncing off of the walls and bouncing off the paddle. And so what I'll look at doing at this point is using something within the ball script to detect whether or not it's gone out of bounds. So if the ball manages to get past my paddle, I'm just going to bring up its Exposition. So under the motion down at the bottom, we have this Exposition variable, and we can use that variable. You can see it down here as well. The 0, 0 position is somewhere around the center of the screen, and then X, it moves in a negative direction as you go left, and in a positive direction as you go right, just the same as you would plot in math. So your origin is at the center of the screen, and your out of bounds area is somewhere around X being, let's call it minus 228. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a second loop that's going to be triggered from the green flag, and I'm just going to have it check. I could do it from within here as well. I'll just leave it in a separate loop. So I'll have a loop that's repeating, and this kind of loop that has a if statement as well. And we'll find out if that Exposition is less than minus 228. So, because at some point it becomes minus 228, we know it's out of bounds. And what I'll do is I'll just use, it's almost like a print statement for Scratch, this little say block. And it was already there saying hello, so we'll just keep it at that. So we'll start it, and the ball is bouncing, and I miss it, and there you go. The little speech bubble came up, so that we had sensed the ball was out of bounds. So keeping score is hopefully you. When you think about how to work with keeping score, you think that you'll require a variable in order to do that. So I'm going to create a variable for player 2 score. This one is player 1, and it's going to be for all sprites. So we can keep information that's just particular to a sprite for this sprite only, or if it's something that's going to affect the entire game, we'll make it for all sprites. And this is something they've added recently, where you can store data on the server. We're not going to use that. This is going to be locally stored. So there you see my player 2 variable appear up here. I can turn that off if I want, and I can change how it looks by clicking on it. So you have an opportunity, if you want to use this as a way to display the score, you can do that. And I'll just show you this other option you have. You can change the values of your variables with these sliders as well in this other kind of view of it. I'm going to leave it like this. So instead of having it say hello, I'm going to change the variable, and I'm not going to use set. Set would be like saying variable equals a particular value, so let's say 3. So if I double click on this, you'll see my variable went up to the value 3. I'm instead going to use this change variable, and if I click on this one, you can see it just is going to continually go up by 1. So this basically says variable equals, or player 2 equals 3, and this says player 2 equals player 2 plus 1. So you would use this at the beginning of your game to set your variables down to 0 if you had a restart button, and then you would use something like this to change the score every time the player scored. Now you just saw something happen there where it got 2 points automatically. It did it again. So it's traveling past 228. My test isn't far enough. It's going into 228 and then spending another another moment in 228 on the next time that this scoring script runs. It's picking up an extra point. But I'll just stop it for a moment. The reason I'm not going to worry about that right now is because we have to take care of some other issues. As soon as the ball goes out of bounds, not only do we have to score something, but we have to kind of reset the ball back to the center. So at that point, you could do that a number of ways. We'll just do it the simplest way possible. So we'll set the ball back to the beginning. So we'll use coordinates for that. So we will go to the center of the screen, and we'll just leave it that way. So ball is bouncing towards the out of bounds. There you saw it go up by 1 point only this time, and immediately ended up back in the center. I'll let it go out of bounds again. Make sure it goes from 11 to 12, and then it went back to the center. So we could also change the direction, perhaps, to randomize the direction a little bit at that point, or not. You can decide how you want it to work at that point. But the scoring seems to be working. Of course, at some point the game needs to stop. You have to have a score at which the game would end. And again, you could use some kind of if statement in here to have that happen. So we'll look at that kind of aspect of it in the next video. We'll look at using a main loop to kind of trigger the start and the stop of the game, and that would be part of it. That would be part of the stopping game.